My name is Laura Bennett, and I'm 52 years old now. This story begins 10 years ago when I was 42, working as a librarian in Portland, Oregon. My life was quiet: books, coffee, a small apartment, and no family of my own. I never married, never had kids, and I was content with that. But my younger sister, Rachel Carter, was the opposite: chaotic, impulsive, always chasing something new. Rachel had married young to a man named Mark. They had 3 kids in quick succession: Jacob, then Mia, and finally Noah. By the time Rachel was 28, she was raising Jacob 7, Mia 5, and Noah 2. Her marriage was crumbling. Mark and Rachel argued constantly, and she'd call me, venting about the stress of motherhood and feeling trapped. When they divorced, Mark vanished, leaving Rachel with the kids. One rainy Saturday in Portland, my doorbell rang. I opened it to find Rachel, soaked with Jacob, Mia, and Noah. "Laura, can you watch them for an hour?" she asked, her eyes bloodshot. "I need to handle something." I nodded. My nieces and nephews were always a joy. She handed me a backpack with snacks and clothes, said, "I'll be back soon," and left. Jacob and Mia plopped onto my couch, flipping on cartoons. Noah clung to me, crying for his mom. I reassured him, "She'll be back, sweetie." But an hour became 3, then 6. I called Rachel. Her phone was off. By evening, I checked the backpack and found a crumpled note. "Back soon, thanks, Laura." Nothing else. Days passed. Her phone stayed disconnected. Emails bounced. Our parents, retired and living in a trailer park in Eugene, hadn't heard from her either. "She'll come back," Mom said, but her voice wavered. Weeks turned into months. Rachel was gone. I couldn't abandon Jacob, Mia, and Noah. They were family. So I became their mother overnight. I enrolled Jacob and Mia in a local school and found a daycare for Noah. My librarian salary barely covered one person, let alone 4. I took on weekend shifts at a bookstore, surviving on 4 hours of sleep. I bought second-hand clothes, cooked budget meals like mac and cheese, and skipped my morning lattes. My social life vanished. No more book clubs or dinners out. The kids asked about Rachel. Jacob, blunt and curious, would say, "Where's Mom?" I'd reply, "She's figuring things out, honey." Mia drew pictures for her mom, asking to mail them. Noah, too young to remember Rachel, called me Auntie Laura. One night, Mia sobbed, "Did Mom leave because I was naughty?" I hugged her tight. "No, sweetheart. Your mom had her own problems. It's not your fault." Money was tight. I applied for government aid, and a social worker visited. "These kids are doing well," she said, approving us for benefits. My friend Clara helped, dropping off meals or watching the kids when I worked late. Our parents sent small checks when they could, but they were struggling too. Years passed. Jacob excelled in math, dreaming of engineering. Mia took up violin, her music filling our tiny apartment. Noah loved soccer, and I cheered at his games, even when it meant missing work. My boss wasn't thrilled, but I prioritized the kids. When our parents passed away, they left me their modest Eugene home, worth $300,000. I rented it out, and the income eased our financial strain. I saved the house for the kids' futures, college, maybe a home of their own. 10 years after Rachel vanished, she reappeared. I was 52, and the kids were 17, 15, and 12. One Tuesday, the doorbell rang. There stood Rachel, polished in a designer coat, with a man in a suit. "Laura," she said coldly, "we need to talk." The man introduced himself as Daniel Price, her lawyer. They pushed inside. Jacob, Mia, and Noah froze, staring at their mother. Rachel didn't hug them or ask about their lives. Instead, Daniel handed me papers. "This is a court notice," he said. "Rachel is seeking custody of her children." Rachel added, "You've kept my kids from me for 10 years. That's kidnapping." The kids gasped. Jacob stepped forward. "You left us." Mia clutched my hand, tears streaming. Noah looked lost. "You abandoned them," I shot back. Rachel claimed she'd been temporarily overwhelmed and always meant to return. It was a lie, delivered with chilling confidence. Daniel said, "We'll see you in court in 2 weeks." They left. The kids were devastated. "We're not going with her," Jacob said fiercely. I promised to fight, but fear gnawed at me. That night, I realized Rachel's motive wasn't the kids. She hadn't even looked at them. It was the house. She wanted its value, likely to fund her lavish lifestyle. I gathered evidence. The note from the backpack, old texts where Rachel begged for cash without mentioning the kids, and voicemails I'd saved. Then I called Mark, the kid's father, who'd been in and out of rehab but had seen the kids occasionally since his release. "Rachel's back," I told him. "She wants custody." Mark wasn't surprised. "She's after money," he said. "I have something you'll want." He sent me a video from 9 years ago, recorded at a party. In it, Rachel, laughing, said, "3 kids were too much. I needed a fresh start. Laura can handle them." Her friends chuckled as she added, "I'm free now, no responsibilities." The video was damning. I hired a lawyer, Susan Hayes, recommended by Clara. Susan reviewed the evidence and nodded. "This is strong. Rachel's case won't hold." The 2 weeks before the hearing were agonizing. The kids were anxious. Mia had nightmares. Noah clung to me. Jacob was angry. I barely slept, terrified of losing them. At the courthouse, Rachel and Daniel spun their story. Rachel had left the kids temporarily, and I'd blocked her access. Susan countered with the note, texts, and voicemails, proving Rachel's abandonment. She called Mark to testify. He confirmed Rachel never contacted him about the kids. Then Susan played the video. Rachel's face drained of color as her words echoed. "I needed a fresh start. Laura can handle them." The judge, Margaret Lee, turned to the kids. Jacob, now 17, said, "Aunt Laura raised us. She's our mom. Rachel left us." Mia, trembling, added, "Laura's always been there. I don't know Rachel." Noah whispered, "I want to stay with Auntie Laura." The courtroom was silent. Judge Lee ruled, "Miss Carter abandoned her children. Miss Bennett has provided a loving home. Custody is granted to Laura Bennett. A 5-year restraining order is issued against Miss Carter." Rachel sobbed, but her tears felt hollow. She left without looking at the kids. After the trial, I learned Rachel had been living extravagantly in Seattle, racking up debt. When her plan to claim the house failed, her world collapsed. Evicted, car repossessed, working odd jobs. We moved into the Eugene house, giving each kid their own room. Jacob got into Oregon State for engineering. Mia's violin won her a scholarship. Noah's soccer skills drew local scouts. The kids started calling me Mom. The first time Noah said it, I was cooking dinner. "Mom, can I have juice?" he asked. I froze, tears welling. "What did you call me?" He smiled shyly. "Mom, is that okay?" I hugged him. "It's perfect, sweetheart." Life moved forward. The kids thrived, and I was their mom, not by blood, but by love. Rachel faded from our lives, but we didn't need her. We had each other.